mukyena pati pajana.
Pranena mukyena pati pajana.
Chitasya chitta mana indriyana.
Yattasya chittaya mana indriyana.
Pati mahan buddha gunashayeshaha.
Pati mahan gunashayeshaha.
From Ishise Jagatastu Shashta.
From Ishise Jagatastu
Pranena Mukhena Pati Prajana.
Pranena Mukhena Pati Prajana.
Chitasya Chitta Mana Indriyana.
Chitasya Chittaya Mana Indriyana.
Pati Mahan Buddha Guna Shayeshaha.
Pate Mahabhutashayeshaha.
Tam Ishise Jagatastu Shashta.
Swami Shise Jagatasushtashta.
Anena Mukhena Pati Prajana.
Pranena Mukhena Pati Prajana.
Chitasya Chitta Mana Indriyana.
Chitasya Chittaya Mana Indriyana.
Pati Mahan Buddha Guna Shayeshaha.
Pate Mahabhutashayeshaha.
Tvam Ishise Jagatastushascha.
Ishise Jagatastu Shashta.
Pranena Mukhena Patih Prajana.
Pranena Mukhena Pati Prajana.
Tasya Chittair Mana Indriyana.
Chitasya Chittaya Mana Indriyana.
Nirmahan Bhuta Gunashayeshaha.
Pate Mahabhutashayeshaha.
Tvam Ishise Jagatastushascha.
Ishise Jagatastu Shashta. Pranena Mukhena Pati Prajana.
Chittair Mana Indriyana.
Chitasya Chittaya Mana Indriyana.
Nirmahan Bhuta Gunashayeshaha.
Pati Mahan Buddha Guna Shayeshaha.
Swami Shise Jagatasushtashta.
Ishise Jagatastu Shashta.
Pranena Mukhena Pati Prajana.
Pranena Mukhena Pati Prajana.
Chitasya Chittaya Mana Indriyana.
Chitasya Chitta Mana Indriyana.
Pate Mahan Bhutagunashayeshaha.
Pati Mahan Buddha Guna Shayeshaha.
Amar Prabhu ji.
Sam Ishise Jagatastushascha.
Ishise Jagatastu Shashta.
Nena Mukhena Pati Prajana.
Pranena Mukhena Pati Prajana.
Tasya Chittair Mana Indriyana.
Chitasya Chittaya Mana Indriyana.
Nirmahan Bhuta Gunashayesha.
Pate Mahan Bhutagunashayeshaha.
You Isheshe actually control.
Actually control.
Jagata
Jagata
of the moving
of
being.
moving being.
Tastusha
Tasya
of the being that is dull
of the being that is God.
or stationed in one place.
Station at one place.
Cha and
And
Pranena by the living force. Mukhena the origin of all activities. Pati master. Jnana of all living entities. Chitasya of the mind. Chitte by the consciousness. Mana of the mind. Indriyana and of the two kinds of senses. Acting and knowledge gathering. Pati the master. Maha great Bhuta of the material elements, Gunam, and the qualities of the material elements, Ashaya of desires, Isha, the Supreme Master. Translation. Your Lordship, being the origin of the life of this material world, is the master and controller of the living entities, both moving and stationary, and you inspire their consciousness. You maintain the mind and the acting and knowledge acquiring senses, and therefore you are the great controller of all the material elements and their qualities, and you are the controller of all desires. Repeat after me. Your Lordship,
Your Lordship,
being the origin of the life
being the origin of life
of this material world,
of this world,
is the master and controller
is the master and controller
of the living entities,
of the living,
both moving and stationary,
both moving and stationary.
and you inspire their consciousness.
And you consciousness.
You maintain the mind
You maintain the mind
and the acting
and the acting
and knowledge acquiring senses,
and knowledge acquired senses.
and therefore you are the great controller
And therefore you are the great controller
of all the material elements
of all the material elements.
and their qualities, and you are the controller
And you are the controller
of all desires.
of all desire.
Prabhupada's purport. In this verse, it is clearly indicated that the original source of everything is life. Brahma was instructed by the supreme life, Krishna. Krishna is the supreme living entity. Nitya Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam. And Brahma is also a living entity, but the original source of Brahma is Krishna. Therefore, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, verse 7, Atakpara Charamnanya Kinchit Asti Dhananjaya. O Arjuna, there's no truth superior to me. Krishna is the original source of Brahma, who is the original source of this universe. Brahma is a representative of Krishna, and therefore all the qualities and activities of Krishna are also present in Lord Brahma. Om again to Chaksha Amritanam Tasmai Shri Namaha Sri Chaitanya Stapitangi Bhutale Swayam Rupakanayam Tadati Svaparantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Juta Padakamalam Sri Guru Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sarvijatan Sadhananatham Vitam Tapsivam Savetam Savadutam Parijana Siddham Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Padam Sadhana Vita Sri Vishakam Vitam Sta He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagat Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaskute Tapkanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindaveshwari Vishwanaskute Devi Paramagi Hari Priya Vancha Kalpatruyashta Kripa Sindhuvevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Prabhupada starts his purport by saying, in this verse, it is clearly indicated that the original source of everything is life. And that was one of Prabhupada's main preaching points in this age of science, so-called science. People love science. Not quite as much now. Definitely love technology now. I don't know, I say love science, but in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, the people that love science and scientists were so highly respected and still are. And scientists are like the high priests of modern, so-called modern material civilization. The scientists know everything. And they're sort of atheistic scientists, which is, in general they are, in general everyone in the material world is atheistic. Atheistic means that either I don't believe or just outright deny the existence of God, or I just think maybe there's God, but it's not very important. Doesn't matter to me anyway. I just have to live my life the way I want to live it. And so, so what if there's God? And but the whole essence of coming to the material world is the desire to not want God, to forget about Krishna, why we come here. So the atheistic world, the material world, and basically the root is atheistic. But still, everyone is a pure spirit soul. Everyone has, everywhere, all over the world, um, and especially in India, there is a knowledge and understanding, some kind of belief and even worship of God. It's not that we don't have that anymore. Everyone has it. I saw one, well, that's a different thing, a little bit different. But uh, yeah, but everyone in their heart has a belief in God, because we come from Krishna, we're nothing but Krishna. We can't forget Krishna, it's impossible. But understanding the knowledge of Krishna, knowledge of our relationship with Krishna can become extremely covered over. And one of the main sources of so-called logical evidence that there is no God, there is no logical evidence, but the so-called logical evidence that there is no God comes from the material atheistic scientists who have, they want to be renowned and basically worshipped. And it's in their interest, self-interest, to motivate self-interest to deny the existence of God. If God is the source of everything, he's the source of all knowledge, he already knows everything. He already created all the laws of the universe, the laws of nature. He is doling out bit by bit to us little bits of knowledge, of understanding of how the material energy works. Then that means I'm not important. I'm just like a little insignificant person, and God is the important one. He's the source of all knowledge. And my new discovery is not a new discovery after all. And if it's, I want it to be known as my discovery, and I want it to have my name on it. And when somebody discovers a new element or a new species or subspecies or subspecies of insect, they name it after the person who discovered it. And look, I got an insect named after me. See how great I am. Yeah, so everyone wants that. Got a whole bunch of physical laws named after him. I can only get an insect named after me, but still pretty important. Anyway, so so the atheistic nature, mentality behind it, to forget Krishna and be, in essence, take the place of Krishna and being understood to be the intelligent person is in my interest, my self-interest. So the scientists, they deny the existence of God. Many do. Many do it blatant, with no apology at all. And some, there are some very reverent scientists, and most are, many are somewhere in between. But the material scientists, atheistic scientists, are a prime target after the second only to the impersonalists and voidists. He didn't put they take first place in all of Prabhupada's books and his lectures, railing against the impersonalists and voidists. But in second place, it would be the atheistic scientists. And one of their chief arguments to deny, or not, it's not even an argument, but their chief propositions is that, well, there's no need for God. I don't know why, that's a primitive idea. People, my father told me that the cavemen, the primitive people, they couldn't understand how the sun rose in the sky, or the wind blew, or they couldn't understand anything. They did, because they didn't have science. So they invented a big man up in the sky who was doing everything. They didn't have science, so they couldn't figure anything out. So it's like, okay, there's a big man up in the sky doing everything. And that's what, but it's primitive. Now, it's a primitive belief because they were in total ignorance. Because they were Pitacanthropus or whatever. They didn't have any knowledge, so they had to invent God. But now we have science, so we can figure everything out for ourselves. We haven't figured everything out yet, but we're working on it. And Prabhupada, of course, Prabhupada called that a post-dated check whenever somebody, he gave great credit to Swarup Damodar Maharaj, who was a PhD, I think, when he already met Prabhupada and became a very serious disciple of Srila Prabhupada, and Prabhupada specifically wanted him to preach among the scientific community, and he gave him great credit for one of the books. He wrote a book early, and Prabhupada referred to it often, the scientific basis for Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is the ultimate science, because Krishna is the ultimate scientist, the ultimate creator. And after all, the only purpose of a scientist is to investigate what's already there, make so-called discoveries. Anyway, so Prabhupada really liked that book, The Scientific Basis for Krishna Consciousness, and he gave him, Swarup Damodar Maharaj, great credit for that. And one time Swarup Damodar Maharaj was before he was a sannyasi, when he was a brahmachari, and he went to some conference of scientists and challenged the scientists, if I give you all the components of an egg, I think an egg, if I give you all the chemicals and components of an egg, just one of Prabhupada's examples, uh, he took it directly from Prabhupada. If I give you all the components of an egg, can you put them together and make an egg? And that will hatch and turn into a chicken. And scientists have to admit, no, we can't do that. And one of the things that would customarily say is that in the future we'll do it. And when Prabhupada heard that, he would just laugh at it. And, oh, in the future we'll do that. And Prabhupada
Post-dated check.
called that a post-dated check. I say, here, I'll take this from you now, and I'll give you a check, you can cash it. A year from now, 100 years from now, I'll give you a check. And he said, you won't like to do that. So, but that's one of the things we're working on it. In the future, we'll understand everything. Anyways, that's why Prabhupada uses this in the first sentence in the purport. In this verse, it is clearly indicated that the original source of everything is life. And that's one of Prabhupada's books. Life comes from life. And people might scoff and say, well, you people are such simplistic people. Your motto, life comes from life. Brilliant. And everything, like if you read some like a doctorate program at MIT, and you write your dissertation on some scientific proposal, and the title will be like 10 words long, it'll be like 50 syllables long, and oh, this person is very intelligent. But our assertion is, and Prabhupada's assertion is very simple. Life comes from life. Doesn't get any simpler than that, but it's true, and it's deep. It's a fact. And whatever you say to contradict it, no matter how many words you use or how many volumes you write or how many scientific degrees you have, you can't change the fact or that life comes from life. It doesn't come from chemicals. It doesn't come from a lightning bolt in a primordial soup, creating a single cell and then developing over billions of years into all different kind of species of life. It comes from life, and it comes from Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma is this first created being by Krishna. He's like you and me. You could have been a Lord Brahman in your previous life. I could have been a Lord Brahman or Lord Indra or whatever in a previous life. The Lord Brahma and all the demigods are jiva souls, except in rare cases where there is no one qualified to be a Lord Brahma or Lord Indra or some. Sometimes Krishna takes the post, but in general, the demigods, including Lord Brahma, are jiva souls, exactly the same as you and me. But that Lord Brahma is specifically empowered. And everyone is empowered to different degrees. Is someone who is a brilliant scientist, a brilliant scholar in any field. You may marvel at like their intelligence and their brilliance, or somebody who a great musician, an ordinary person who can pick out a tune on a piano or a guitar, like be like in awe of like how this person can play this instrument so incredibly. it's just, or an athlete, some of the athletes are just mind-boggling in how talented they are and how strong and coordinated they are. So everyone is, but everyone is empowered in a different way. Everyone in Prabhupada, there was one time in Vrindavan, and Prabhupada was in his room at the Radha Damodar temple, and he had his disciples and maybe some guests with him, and he was talking, and there was somebody had brought in an offering of some bananas, and I think you know the story probably, and when Prabhupada was talking, the bananas were sitting there, and all of a sudden this monkey, there's no window, so all of a sudden this monkey ran in one window, grabbed some of the bananas and ran out the other window in like 2 seconds flat. And Prabhupada said, look how fast he did that. Every living entity has some mystic power. You couldn't do that. You couldn't run in and grab bananas and run out the other window in 2 seconds. The monkey can. Or a little bug can fly in the sky, and you can't do that. Every living entity is empowered in different ways. Krishna gives us all. We're all part and parcel of Krishna, and each one of us has some empowerment by Krishna to do whatever we do. Whatever we do, even if it's just the most ordinary things, we have to be empowered to do whatever we do. Anyway, so Lord Brahma is empowered far, far beyond any other jiva soul in the universe, but he's specifically empowered by Krishna because of being a great surrendered servant of Krishna and being a trusted representative of Krishna, specifically given the power to create a universe. It's like, I mean, we say the words, create a universe, but, you know, what does that mean? That's like, oh, we can say the words or try to get some idea of what that means, but we have no idea what it means to create a universe. But Lord Brahma knows how to do it. He is empowered by Krishna to know exactly what to do. And he's the living entity, and he creates all the living entities, all the different species of life simultaneously, from the small, the amoeba, up to the demigods. He creates all the different species of life simultaneously, and all the planets, all the heavenly planets, the hellish planets, the middle planets like this planet, this Earth planet, the middle planet, and he creates everything simultaneously. And you could argue if you're an atheistic scientist, you can argue that's just mythology. That's every religion has their creation myth, and that's your creation myth. So, okay, you're welcome to your mythology, but it's a childish story meant for ignorant people. But it's not for ignorant people. Read the verses of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Examine the verses of the Srimad Bhagavatam or all the Vedic literatures, the Mahabharata, the Ramayana, the Bhagavad Gita as it is. Read the verses. Try to understand with your tiny brain and the unlimited intelligence it took to write, compose these verses. Just that one little thing, just how did somebody How did on people they revere Shakespeare or in the Western tradition or Ovid or some of these uh, poets, they revere them for their intelligence to write a few verses or a few thousand verses into a story, but this is nothing compared to the intelligence of Srila Vyasadeva compose the Vedic literatures. This is just from an objective, intellectual point of view, not even considering that, just from an objective point of view, if you actually read the Sanskrit verses or the translations of the Sanskrit verses into English or Russian or Chinese or whatever language it is, you can do nothing but marvel at the boundless intelligence of whoever wrote these books. You could say it's Srila Vyasadeva. Of course, we say it's Srila Vyasadeva. Srila Vyasadeva is the literary incarnation of God. Well, you can say that, but it's like Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, if you actually think you're intelligent, and everyone these days thinks they're really intelligent, people have a very high opinion of their intelligence. And so if you really think you're intelligent, then use your intelligence to examine the philosophy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And if you do, you will find it strikingly wonderful. Phrase is strikingly wonderful. You couldn't think of this stuff. In your wildest dreams, you couldn't imagine how to construct such literature or this philosophy of spiritual understanding. There's one time Prabhupada said, oh, so I wanted to say something else in Brahman. Therefore, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 7:7, Matak Parataram Nanyat Kinchidasti Tananjaya. Oh, Arjuna, there's no truth superior to me. Krishna is the original source of Brahman, is the original source of this universe. Brahma is a representative of Krishna, and therefore all the qualities and activities of Krishna are also present in Lord Brahma. The supreme absolute truth is a person. And that I don't want to accept. The first line of this verse, it says, Lord Brahma says, no, Hiranyakashipu says, your lordship, being the origin of life of this material world, is the master and controller of the living entities. The master and controller. No one wants to admit that they have a master. Like in the material world, you say, yeah, I work for such and I work for Meta. Oh, so, but what's his name? Zuckerberg. Yeah. So Mark Zuckerberg is your master. And he would say, he's not anyone who works there. He's my boss, ultimate boss. He's the CEO. He's not my master. A wife somebody might say to a wife, I'll say, your husband is your master. And the wife would say, he's not my master. We work together. Sometimes I do what he tells me. Most of the time I do, he does what I tell him. Yes. I was looking for, okay. And let me just, okay.
No, that verse is there. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Daya Karah Vichar Karile Chitte Pave Chamatkar. If you're indeed interested in logic and argument, kindly apply it to the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. If you do so, you will find it to be strikingly wonderful.
Yeah.
Mercy of Chaitanya.
Yeah, Krishnadas Kaviraj knew what he was writing. He knew Lord Chaitanya's mercy, Lord Chaitanya's philosophy. He knew what he was talking about. And you think you're intelligent? Okay, good. Then apply it to Lord Chaitanya's mercy, Lord Chaitanya's philosophy. If you really do it, you'll see. I mean, he doesn't say it like that, like an American would. He said it like a humble sage would. He said it very humbly. And but the meaning is the same. You think you're intelligent? Good for you. So apply it to Lord Chaitanya, and you'll see. Just wanted to.
Boldness?
What?
Boldness of Tamal Krishna Maharaj?
No, that's a good point too. I was looking for something else that I read yesterday. I'll read that in truth. Let's see. Okay. Maybe I'll just. I'll just read. Oh, this is yeah, yeah. So everyone so nobody wants to admit I have a master. I don't have a master. I have people I have to obey for practical purposes. He's not my master, and that's an abhorrent thing to say to materialists. But okay, so this is in Seattle after Prabhupada had just given an initiation fiery again, and he had just completed the last mantras, and he said, turned to the guest and he said, "Now chant Hare Krishna." When a guest, a woman who had some local fame as a Hatha yoga instructor, interrupted the proceedings. She interrupted, she spoke up. So, that's not very polite in almost any situation, just to interrupt something. And she said, "Excuse me," she began, "I have to speak to you." "Please wait," said Prabhupada. But she didn't wait. She said, "Why are you sitting on a raised seat?" she exclaimed. "You're sitting up there, and all these people are sitting here, and you're like you're on a throne." Devotees tried politely to check her, but she wanted to be heard. Prabhupada was silent. "Why does everyone bow to you?" she demanded. "Don't you know God is everywhere? Everyone is God." And Prabhupada still tried to. Yeah. "That's all right," said Prabhupada. "Let us chant." But he just, let's chant. Her argument was drowned out by a rousing kirtan celebrating the completion of the initiation ceremony. Anyways, Prabhupada asked Madhudrisha, or Vishnu Jana Madhudrisha, because she left the room, and after the kirtan, Prabhupada said, "What did you tell her?" And her question was, Vishnu Jan said, she was thinking that we were bowing to you as if you were God. She resents this because in the Christian religion it says bow down to no man. What did you explain? Prabhupada left. Did you not explain that we were bowing down not as God, but as God's representative? Could you not explain like this? "She's over there, I think," said Madhudrisha, if you'd like to talk to her. But anyway, the yogini had latched on to Joy, who later became Janava. And she was very new, very new. She had heard about Prabhupada from the devotees, and she came to see him that night, and she stayed. She didn't leave. She stayed. But anyway, this yogini latched on to her afterwards, and when she is preaching her uh, uh, impersonal, anti-devotional philosophy. Then as Prabhupada was leaving the temple to get into his car, the yogini obstructed his path and continued her blasphemy. Nothing get much more rude than that. No one should bow down, she railed, because everyone is God. Oh, what did Prabhupada do? I'll tell you. Prabhupada became angry, a fiery look in his wide eyes. Suddenly, Joy Fulcher, she had been having some doubts because she had been into that impersonal idea before she met the devotees and Prabhupada. So when she met this yogini again, she got influenced by her again, which is not unusual. But so she was having some doubt in her mind. But when this happened, and she said, no one should bow down to you because everyone is God, Prabhupada became angry. A fiery look came in his wide eyes. Suddenly, Joy Fulcher came forward and threw herself on the ground before Prabhupada. She placed her hand on his foot. She had been confused about whom to accept, but now she felt compelled to surrender to Prabhupada. He allowed her to keep her hand on his foot while the yogini gradually subsided before Prabhupada's angry silence and let him pass. Getting into the van, Prabhupada bumped his head on the inside of the roof. The devotees were furious and blamed the blasphemous girl for what happened. As the van drove away, Prabhupada turned to Narayan Das, who was driving. That girl said everyone is God, but she objected that they were bowing down to me. But if everyone is God, am I not also God? I think it's not, yeah. We do have a master. There is a supreme master, and that master is Krishna. And the representative of Krishna, the bona fide spiritual master in disciplic succession, is also the master for those who follow. All glories to Srila.
Prabhu, is this Joy Mataji the same as Janva Mataji from Philadelphia?
How old is the one in Philadelphia?
She passed away.
Well, I mean, yeah, her name is Janava. She got initiated, and if she's old enough, it might be the same one. Be the artist, one of the original artists.
Oh, I see. Did Prabhupada ever repeat names of initiated devotees? Or
Repeating. Oh yeah, I'm not sure, but I think so. Pretty sure. I can't be sure about